So Pokemon Sword and Shield have been no stranger to controversy, to say the least, I would think. um, there have been a lot of PR mistakes, I would say, by GameFreak, and a lot of leaks that came out and showed the game in some pretty bad light. And especially when reviews came out and they were praising the game just because Pokemon, for whatever reason, by default, always gets a pretty good grade. They get a pretty good review score by all, pretty much all of the review outlets, especially you could say IGN gave it probably the most biased review of all time ever, I would say, and I feel like that's a little disappointing. But I've played all the Pokemon games, except for Black and White 2, and I didn't play any of Ultra Sun or Ultra Moon. But other than those, I played every generation of Pokemon games, and I have enjoyed them thoroughly. I would call myself by no means a huge Pokemon fan. I do enjoy the games a whole lot, but I am by no means, I say again, no means am I a super fan of Pokemon. So as a lot of this information was coming out about Sword and Shield being truncated in terms of the Pokedex or animations or textures, what seems like would be overall laziness going into the game, I was still cautiously optimistic because I figured it's the newest mainline RPG for the Switch. So it's their first endeavor in having a mainline Pokemon game, a main next gen RPG for a home console ever. So there were a lot of things that they could have possibly done with it. Now, I played the game for about 8 hours, and I think I'm just going to run some B-roll footage. I took a lot of footage of me doing the second gym, so if you don't want to get that spoiled, you can click off this video now. But I was still cautiously optimistic about the game. Because I knew that it would just be a game that I would enjoy for what it is, because it's Pokemon. Pokemon games are fun to me, so I feel like it would have been a fun game, and so far it is. It's nothing too terribly different. The wild area is a nice touch, and I do like that they kept around the Pokemon out in the open, instead of random battles like they did. They kept that from the Pokemon Let's Go games for the Switch that came out last year. So I do like that feature. That is that's great. I love that. My least favorite part about Pokemon used to be the random battles, but we don't really have to worry about that anymore. I really wish there would be maybe there's like a skill or something or an unlockable that comes in later, but I wish you could tell the level of the Pokemon that you would be running into prior to running into them, because there are a couple out in the wild area that I just got completely destroyed by because I was level like 23 and they ended up being like level 47. So they one-shot all of my Pokemon, regardless of what type it was. So that was a little frustrating. But back to the game itself, I guess I'm just going to talk about my impressions of the game. I did look at a lot of the leaked footage that came out from people that had pirated or hacked the game, and most of that is completely true. There are a lot of textures that look like they are straight out of the 3DS and are running on Citra, the 3DS emulator for the PC. They look like upscaled 3DS models and textures, which is unfortunate. But it's not a deal breaker or anything. I think people are very disappointed in how the game looks coming off of Luigi's Mansion that came out last month, or just a couple weeks ago last month. So, and that game looks phenomenal. That game is probably the best looking game on the Switch. I would bet money on that's the best looking game on the Switch. It looks wonderful. So, I think that a lot of the tension about how the game looks is coming off of that, or maybe it's just not as big of an upgrade from the 3DS versions of the game. Excuse me. And I 100% get that. They're not really that big of a jump in terms of graphical fidelity. But is that really what we play Pokemon games for? Because it's not what I play Pokemon games for. I don't open up my Pokemon game and expect it to be the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I expect it to be fun. And it's without a doubt a fun game. I've cleared through 3 gyms so far, and it's not any harder than the older games. I think Pokemon games are still pretty much geared for kids, and that's okay because anybody can have fun with those kind of games. They're just incredibly easy. I found myself more than once one-shotting every gym leader's Pokemon, and again, that's fine. It's more of a power trip than anything. It's not a bad thing, in my opinion. I like to have fun with my games, whether it's super challenging or not. I don't really care. So that the fun factor of Pokemon is still there in this game. It's not like this game is not fun. It is unfortunate that they had to take away 60% of all the Pokemon that are in the national dex. They took away the national dex. So that's incredibly unfortunate. But is it a deal breaker? I don't think so. Like, honestly, no, not really, to me at least. I don't feel ripped off by the game at all. I'll buy the game. I bought the game. It's just a fun game. I like it a lot. They have a lot of good ideas going on with the wild area. I like it could be expanded upon. Again, like I said, the Pokemon could have their levels above them, maybe to make it easier as an indicator as to what level they are. So you don't go in and just get demolished, because the wild area is supposed to scale with you. So you would think that they would just indicate, hey, maybe this is around your level, and then you go and try to catch that. But I digress. A couple of the things that I didn't really particularly like were, okay, let's get it out of the way. The trees look awful. The trees look like they're from the Nintendo 64. The trees in Ocarina of Time look marginally worse than these. So with that out of the way, one of the mechanics I don't really particularly care for are the capping of which Pokemon levels you can catch after each gym. From what I've shown, from what I've been shown, the level of the Pokemon that you can catch increases by 5 after you complete a gym. So I just completed the 3rd gym, so now I can catch Pokemon up to level 35. And I don't really know why they did this at all, because you would think that they would want you to venture out and maybe try to attack the stronger level Pokemon, like when I was level 23 and the Pokemon that destroyed me was level 47. Maybe I could have weakened it enough and caught it, and that would have been a proud moment for me. But you're not allowed to do that in the game. They don't allow you to catch Pokemon above a certain level, and that's pretty unfortunate, because as I've been going through the game and just battling all the trainers all the way up to each town to get to the next gym, I'm already significantly higher level than a lot of the Pokemon that I'm fighting. So my Pokemon are out leveling even the gym leader's Pokemon at times, and that's probably not what they were going for. The game shouldn't be that easy, and I think you should be able to make your own challenge in a game that is particularly easy by itself. But I don't know, maybe that'll be something that they get negative feedback on. I'm sure that they've looked at the tweets and looked at the angry emails that I'm sure they've gotten, and have noted heavily that they don't want to implement that. Maybe they shouldn't implement that in the next iteration of Pokemon. Maybe if we get a next Let's Go game, that won't be in there. That mechanic won't be in there, and none of us will miss it, I don't think. And I think the last thing I'm going to talk about, it's a good thing for once. The gyms, from what I understand, are a little bit different than previous generations gyms. Now, I didn't play Sun and Moon all that much, but I know that they got rid of the traditional gyms, and they were called something different. I don't recall what they were called, but they were called something different, and I think people liked them. But in this generation, in Sword and Shield, gyms have what they call gym missions before you go and fight the gym leader, which is in a huge stadium, and without a doubt, the last Pokemon will Dynamax or Gigantamax, one of the two, and it'll be a big showdown in which you will Dynamax back and one-shot him. But the gym leader, or I'm sorry, the gym missions are pretty interesting. The first gym was a grass type gym, and it basically gave you a big pile of 20 what are they called, Wooloos, the sheep Pokemon, and asked you to herd them together and basically chase behind them and roll them into different areas in order to move on to the next one, so they could roll into the hay barrels and let you pass into the next area while you're battling trainers along the way. And I thought that was a cool little gimmick. And so far, basically all of the gyms that I have come across have a little gimmick. One of them was a puzzle. So the water type dungeon was a little puzzle. It was you had to flip switches that turned waterfalls off and on and allowed you to progress through the dungeon. And the fire dungeon, or I'm not dungeon, gym, sorry. The fire gym was the one I just completed, and it was cool because they had you basically fight another Pokemon with an NPC trainer, and they were basically competing against you, because if you fainted that Pokemon, you got 1 point, but if you caught the Pokemon, you got 2 points, and you needed 5 points in order to get to the gym leader. So if you took out the other trainer's Pokemon, you had a greater chance of you being able to catch the Pokemon rather than them fainting it. So I thought that was really cool. So I do like the gyms a whole lot, and I'm really excited to see what they have next, because from what I hear, the gyms have pretty cool gimmicks, and so far I'm liking them a lot. But those are just my little 2 cents of what I've played so far of the games. Now, I haven't completed them, or I guess I only have one. I'm not gonna buy Shield. I have Sword. But I think that's gonna do it for today. Again, that's just my 2 cents. I'm not a Pokemon super fan, but I do enjoy the games a whole lot, so I will buy every one of them. I bought Let's Go Pikachu, and I enjoyed that a whole lot. I even suckered in and got the stupid Pokeball controller that I ended up having. I forced myself to play Let's Go with it because it was $50, and I felt bad about buying it, and I couldn't use my Pro Controller for some reason. But let me know what you guys think about Pokemon Sword and Shield. Did you end up buying it, or did you fall victim to the whole controversy around it? I really like to know what your opinions were about it. So leave the video a like if you liked it, and dislike it if you didn't, and I'll see you on the next one.